which is Grace Skirrow. Grace is a PhD student also in the physical geography, and she is going to be talking a little bit on her experiences in very interesting fieldwork locations. So Grace, all yours.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here, and yeah, my name's Grace, and I should probably start by explaining why I love dirt so much. I have about 5 years under my belt of study and research in environmental change now, and that broadly looks at how environments have changed over time, not just the climate, but also the land systems that are affected, the whole environment, biomes, ecosystems. And the way I study that is by looking at the landforms, the geomorphology and the shape of the surface of the land, but also the sediments that lie right beneath our feet. And these sediments that are left by land systems, rivers, lakes and glaciers and things like that leave us clues and evidence of how these systems have changed, evolved over time. And I just love it so much. I'm a massive geek. So if we look at the image on the top right, there's a beautiful core from a lake in the Scottish Highlands, and you can see how there's different colours and textures built up in the layers, and that's just, I could stare at that all day. It's a beautiful example of environmental change in front of our eyes right there. So studying this topic, I've been all over the UK on fieldwork, and it's my favourite thing to do. I feel like my brain is the most engaged when I'm in the field, and I can see things with my own eyes and experience it right there and then. I'm in my element. But I've also been able to go abroad as well. So I've been to Iceland, a picture in the top left, the Italian Alps, photo in the bottom right, and all of these photos I'm covered in dirt. And most recently, the bottom left image is a fieldwork to Argentina that I organised and led myself with help from my supervisors. But I wish I could take you through picture by picture of everywhere I've been, but I'm going to stick to Argentina today. Just let my laptop catch up. Try and get onto the next slide. How are we doing? Am I on? What slide am I on?
You are on the first one. You should, if you click your screen and then the next tab, you should be fine.
Oh, I think I've got a little button here. There we go. I think my computer's lagging slightly. So I've specialised in rivers now for my PhD, and specifically the Rio Chubut out in Argentina. And this river flows from the Andes Mountains, something like 800 kilometres east into the Southern Atlantic Ocean. Massive river, and it has responded to past environments and climate change over its history. So I went out there on field work back in 2019, and here's just a few images that we took from a drone. It's just a beautiful, like, striking landscape that's so different to anything I'd seen before, and definitely different to the UK. It's this vast, open, barely vegetated landscape, and then just a few trees that line the riverbanks. And this image here is a great example of the abandoned river channels that really sparked my interest. And I map these river channels and I look at the sediments that are deposited in them. And just here's another photo. It's one of my favorites. And you can just about see some channel patterns on the floodplains that aren't quite the same as the river that we see today, and that's exactly what I look at, how these rivers have changed over time. So here's another favourite thing. I'm saying everything's my favourite, but I'm not lying. Everything about fieldwork is my favourite thing. So one of my favourite things to do on fieldwork is take sediment samples. So the photo on the right is me taking a sediment sample of river sediments, sands and gravels, and that one was taken by digging down into a horizontal exposure and bashing a tube in to collect the sediment inside the tube. But sometimes that's not possible, so we have to dig vertically down into the floodplain surface. So that's an example of that is an image on the left, which is me and Rachel, my supervisor, another awesome woman in science. We dug down 4.5 meters, that core was, so that was a hard day of digging. And yeah, so we dug down to collect a sample that way as well. So my fieldwork is, you know, it's dirty, it's hard work, it's historically not something that is stereotypical female sort of things to do, but it is one of my favourite, most fulfilling things that I find that I do, and I think it should be accessible to anybody that wants to enjoy it. So another part of my fieldwork is that I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did was problem solving. We encountered a few issues. Most of the rural Argentina land is divided into lots of different landowners, and it's gated and it's locked by padlocks. So if we drive up there in our car to try and get to a sample site and the gate's locked, there's not really much we can do about it. So on this particular day, the way we solved that issue of accessing our sample site was to walk it. So we ended up walking 14 kilometers for the sake of one sample, which seems a bit mad, but it was a good sample. And it ended up being one of the best days because we encountered amazing wildlife. These 3 guanacos were quite interested in us. We also saw nandus, which are like the Argentinian ostrich. Luckily no pumas, but they were around apparently, or maybe the locals were just saying it to scare us. And then on the bottom left, that's my research team, my fieldwork team, my 2 supervisors, 2 of my supervisors, Janet is my 3rd, who came with me to help me dig up dirt. And then I'll just show you this video if it will let me play it. It might be lagging slightly, but on another day we had another issue with accessing land, again behind lots of locked gates. So it was too far to walk it as well. It was about 20 kilometers just to get there, so it would be a 40-kilometer walk. Never in a million years would I be able to do that in a day. So we borrowed a boat and we bundled all of our fieldwork kit and all of our sampling gear and our lunch into our backpacks, and we shoved it all in this boat and we just kayaked across the river. And again, it started off as a really annoying problem, but ended up being one of the best memories I have of that fieldwork. So yeah, loved that. And then this is just one of my favorite photos that I just wanted to share with you and to leave you on. This was taken on our last day of sampling. This is me and Rachel. We did all the coring and the sampling for our sediment. And this day it was just so hot and there was no wind, and we were just absolutely knackered from 10 days of doing this. So I don't know if anyone's seen Grey's Anatomy when they do their superhero poses before they go into brain surgery, but this is what we were doing, staring into the landscape, just mustering the strength to take our last sample. But I get so much enjoyment and so much fulfillment out of doing this, and I hope that I want this to be accessible to anybody who wants to give it a go, because to me it is the best thing in the world. That's me done.